I'll never.
Is this thing on?
Yeah, yeah. Essentially, it's just like, can anyone hear me? Tap, 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 and then like in true cheesy Hollywood fashion, the like mic gives feedback, and everyone's just like, ugh. Live with. Do-do-do. Hopefully, I can tag you. Quarantine. Yeah, there we go. Bong, bong, shared. All right, guys. What's up, everybody? Not a journalist here with Brian Holiday and Scott C. To my, man, I always do that wrong. I always point to the wrong direction. One day I'll learn. Scott C. I'm very excited to be talking with you, man. For as long as I've been in the city, and I started working in college radio, university radio, and whatnot, and people were just like, yo, have you met Scott C? Like, you should talk to Scott C. Like, people were just always name dropping you and stuff around the city, and I was always just like, I haven't met Scott C. No, and and it was kind of fun because it was nice to know, because sometimes in the industry it's real easy for people to do this thing where it's just like, oh, this person from out of town is important, or this person from somewhere else is important, and not everyone talks about someone locally with such like regard and admiration. And I guess not only are you talented, but also you've been doing the goods, which was something that a lot of people in the community really respected. So I was really excited, man. I'm really happy to get to talk with you.
Dude, I'm happy to be here, man. You know, you do this thing like a symphony, man. You're always conducting things, and I'm happy to be a part of it, man.
Oh man, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, this started just because I've mentioned it before, and I'll say it again. It started because I didn't have anything to do, and I took the opportunity to just be like, yo, we have the whole premise of Not a Journalist, which is something I haven't talked about in a couple episodes, was I like to just give big ups and take full advantage that I have a platform where I can ask dope people to sit down and talk with me. And that's pretty much just what it is. It's just like, oh, under the guise of a daily podcast, let's all these people I've always wanted to just be like, hey man, you're cool. You want to talk? And,
Why not? Let's
yeah,
do it.
yeah, man. So the goods, how many years did you do the goods for?
Almost 15. We
15.
we stopped in 2017, just short. It was another 3/4 of a year would have made it 15 years.
Mm. And what was like when I'm sure you had this on a few occasions when people would ask you like, yo, how do you get something like this off the ground? And how do you make not even just that, but also how do you maintain it? What's some of the advice you gave people?
Advice. Um, well, our one of the big things that sort of helped us get some traction in this place, and going back to what you said before, I'm not even originally from here, man. I'm happy that people consider me a local
Yeah.
and consider me a Montrealer, like above all. That's my heart.
Yeah.
But I'm from Toronto, right? I came from
Oh,
Toronto
dope. Okay. One of the
in
few
like
who came the other way.
1994. You know what I mean? So, and Andy as well. Andy's also from Toronto, but
Okay.
he was here longer than me. He was here, I think, another 3 years or 4 years before me.
Mm.
Um, but coming from Toronto, um, I was kind of used to a certain level of diversity as far as DJs were concerned.
Mm. Okay.
And some of the guys that I was religiously following around and checking out at the time, and this is like between 1990 and 1993.
Mm.
They were able to play reggae, they were able to play underground hip hop, they're able to play house. That was like the first time I heard people playing like Brazilian music
Oh,
on
dope.
a club dance floor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Funk, soul. So when I came to Montreal, um, that's what I was looking for.
Mm.
That's kind of what I was keyed into. That's the vibe that I was really all about and wanted to build on. I was looking for my people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I
Your
mean?
community. That's fair. Yeah. 100%.
And to be honest with you, and this is not to say that it didn't exist somewhere in some pocket,
Mm.
but I couldn't find it. We couldn't find that vibe.
Yeah.
So I was pretty fresh out the box as a DJ. I'd only started DJing in 1992,
Yeah.
1990, end of 1991. So I had a grip of records. I had enough records to hold it down. Um, and I started sort of playing with like-minded people, like not people who were playing exactly the same thing as I was playing, but
Something that could.
people who are open.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I was gonna
You
say,
know,
I feel like, and when I was a program director at CJLO, one of the things whenever DJs would come in and they'd be nervous the first time they're about to go on air, and I'd give them some semblance of a pep talk. One of the things I always said was, you have decided to bring forward a specific niche in a community that someone else may not have thought to do or someone else hasn't done yet. And by doing this, you're going to be able to connect people and be a voice for people who've just genuinely never had someone play the type of music you might be playing for them or discuss the type of subjects you might be discussing on their behalf. And that was always important. And a lot of people felt so relieved to hear that, because they'd be like, "Oh man, I didn't think about it that way. I just really love this music." And I was like,
yeah,
yeah, and that's great. You love it, and there's probably other people out there who love it, and you're going to help bring those people together. Even if they don't actually go to a venue together, just listening to your show or your show getting around the community and connecting people will bring them together. And I feel like,
yeah.
you were on a similar wavelength with that, which was, I mean, that sounds amazing.
Well, I'm not saying that there wasn't people playing hip hop and
No, yeah, yeah.
reggae and house music in Montreal. That was all happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But to find sort of an open format party where all these things were
Yeah.
converging and being played, it didn't exist as far as we could see.
Yeah.
So I was at the time I was living at a gallery performance space that used to exist in Old Montreal. It's a place called Isart,
Oh,
not Blizzard.
okay.
Isart, ISART.
Okay.
And at the time, it was like this really dope, out of the way spot. All the, like, for example, all the original Ninja Tune shows used to get booked
Oh,
in at Isart.
oh, dope.
Everything.
Okay.
So DJ Food would come to town. He'd come to Isart. Emmett Tobin's first shows were all played at Isart.
Oh, dope.
Um, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Wig, Ghostbeard, and DJ Love. They used to do dub nights there. Anyway, through doing stuff at this spot, I met Andy Williams,
Yeah.
who would occasionally come and DJ for um, poetry events and different things, you know.
Okay.
And I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
always like, "Yo, man, what is he playing? This is dope as shit!" Like,
Yeah, yeah.
honestly, like Andy always was coming with like stuff that nobody else was playing.
Yeah.
And that basically just got us talking. We became friends. We would DJ together at Isart, and we eventually, I think we linked up with Similac. You know
Yeah.
Similac?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So Similac and Simon B. Simon B was a guy that he was a graphic designer at the Montreal Mirror, where I was working as a writer.
Okay.
And we just had this one-off loft party, and it was bananas. Like it was exactly what I just described
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you:
yeah.
funk, soul, jazz, hip hop, house, all in one party, and everybody vibing and not afraid where the party was gonna go.
That's dope.
And from that, we were like, okay, we gotta do something. We gotta
Yeah.
do something together.
Because you
And,
saw
and
that the people were there. There was like a community of people who were interested in all of these different, the blend and that kind of energy.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where we started a night at Blizzard's, the original incarnation of Blizzard's when it first opened on Saint Laurent.
Yeah.
It was a night called Brass Knuckles,
Oh, dope. Okay.
and the four of us would play every Friday night. Four DJs in a
Oh,
club like that on the main,
okay.
and it was rammed for 5 years. And those are some of the proudest moments of me being a DJ.
Yeah.
In Toronto or Montreal, like having a packed Friday night and having a who's who of people making music and doing things in the city being in the room.
Yeah.
It was just a really cool vibe, and um uh
The energy must have
something I
been
was,
amazing.
yeah, the energy was bananas,
Yeah,
man. It was,
man. I can only imagine like that. Like, and that's the thing. Like I was saying, when I first started doing radio, there was always that thing of like, yo, Scott and all these guys. Like, you gotta like, if you're gonna be paying attention to stuff in the scene, make sure you go out to some of these events and whatnot. I was so young and new though, because I grew up in the city, and like what people call the formative years. From like 16 to like 22, the time when I was in university, I ended up getting shipped out to the suburbs. So I felt like such a disconnect with the city. So when all the great cool shit was happening, by the time I came back at 22, and like half of my friends had their own friend cliques and stuff like that, and I'd been going to university, so I had a lot of university friends, but that's when I ended up connecting with the people at the radio, because I kind of felt lost by my, like, for a minute, and then the radio people were the ones that really, that kind of community vibe. And I think one of the things that you're bringing up that I really connected with was I liked the idea that we were all fans of music. It wasn't just like a specific style. Like, if you were just a fan of music, hanging out together was fun. And like, it sounds like that's what your thing was like.
but that's it, man. Like, without getting all like hoity-toity and snobbish about it,
Yeah.
like we were playing, like we were going deep
Mm.
on a Friday night on the main, where 99% of the clubs on the street were playing commercial shit,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think as a result of that, we stood out, and people went out of their way to come and try and get in if they could on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Because it was really, at a certain point, it became really tough to actually get in the place.
Hot damn.
So we did that for 5 years.
Yeah.
I think from 98 to 2002
Okay.
or 2003.
Yeah.
And then me and Andy, we kind of stopped doing it. We basically had at some point there was like a falling out with the owner of Blizzards at the time.
Yeah.
And we left. We just booked, and Similac and Simon continued to do the Friday night for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And it was around that time that Sala Rosa and Casa del Popolo were just opening.
Okay.
Mauro
Okay.
Pizzette and Kiva, his wife, were just sort of trying out an idea that they had.
Yeah.
And we were able to secure a night from the beginning, a monthly date, you know?
Yeah.
And that was huge, because Mauro, God bless Mauro Pizzette from Sala and Casa.
Yeah.
Because he's a musician himself. He's in Godspeed You Black Emperor.
Yeah.
He gets it. Like, he knows he's not trying to rip anybody off. He's not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes.
Yeah.
And he wants everybody to have an opportunity to connect with the audience and with the people. So we got off on the right foot with him, and took us about 2 years to really kind of get a crowd coming back.
Yeah.
It was tough in the early years. But once we crossed that threshold, it was amazing, man. And it was a blessing. We were able to bring in guests from all around the world, and enjoy playing with them. And in some cases, they returned the favor. We got to go play with them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like I think one of the most important things with when you're an artist or appreciator of art, one of the most important things is that connection with other people who are on the same wavelength again. So when you're saying like the venue is run by someone who gets music, I feel like that's really important, because I've had a few conversations today about stuff going on in like the movie industry, and I keep talking about like artists and creators, and it's that feeling of like art's a business sometimes. Like, people, there's still a business side to it, and it's so hard for some people to put the art before the business side, because they realize like it starts off for them as art, but then it turns into like, well, I got to make sure if I want the art to be seen that I got to be able to pay for some stuff. And then before they know it, there's that flip. But sometimes there's people who are so talented at the balance, and those are the people that I really love watching, because those people navigate the art world and the business world and have found ways to merge them in and make it seamless, and through that have given spaces to better art, if anything.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there were years that we did the goods where the goods was literally the only money that was my main source of income.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't always like that, but there was a few lean years where that was the case, and thank God for that. I mean, we were able to not only like just kind of choose the people that we wanted to showcase. We really wanted to just bring in the people that we were feeling musically to Montreal, people who hadn't been here before, or who maybe never would have come here in any other case. And just being able to do that was a really awesome opportunity.
The first time I got to go was such a funny night because I don't remember who invited me, but they were just like, yo, we got to go to the goods. And I was just like, okay. And I don't even remember what year it was. I just remember walking in and like the vibe and energy so on point. I'm just like, oh, yo, I get this place. And I walk in and I get a cider. I'm sitting in a corner, and then someone introduces me to you, and we start talking. And I'm telling you about college radio and blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, oh, yo, you should meet the homeboy over here. And he's just like, okay. And you bring me over to Kevin, and you're just like, yo, this guy's going to be like, and it was so great to watch because you were just like, you guys had obviously talked and like you were definitely like deep music heads, and I could see that kind of like connection. And I was just like, okay, like there's like these guys know their shit. And I mean, one of the things that I've never been like a deep music head, so I always appreciate watching like people who are crate diggers and like get each other when it comes to music, because I'm in awe of like that craft, because I didn't, like I said, I feel like the formative years of like my introduction to music, I was in such a weird place by myself out in the suburbs that a lot of the people I would have loved to connect with and do that with weren't around me. And then so you introduced me to Kevin, and we talk, and then I go about my night and whatever. And I think like maybe a year later, I'm talking to somebody, and they show me a picture. They're just like, yo, K Tronada is killing it out there. And I'm just like, yeah. He's just like, yo, he's from Montreal. I'm just like, yeah, I hear good things. But I hadn't seen a picture. And then I see the picture. I'm like, hey, that's that dude that Scott introduced me to. And my friend looked at me dumbfounded, like, you've met? I was just like, yeah, we hung out at the goods this one night, and and we talked music and blah blah. And man, my friend's face was the epitome of jealousy. Like if he could have turned green from jealousy, he would have turned green from jealousy. And it was just such a.
Oh wait, that wasn't the night. That wasn't the same night that Kevin was actually performing at the goods.
No. He was just hanging. Like, you had brought him out, and he was just hanging out, and you just introduced us on a like a purely casual let's introduce vibe, and that was fun. I mean, it would have been cool like to see him DJ that night, but I just whatever he was doing there. But like you were saying, a whole bunch of people, the vibe that you guys had drew in like specific people who loved music, and he's one of those people that loves music, so it was just a cool thing to see that.
It's interesting because we booked him to perform, not to DJ, but we actually booked 4 local acts from the time.
Okay.
Who were kind of bubbling with stuff, and he was going by K Tradamus at the time.
Yes.
And he performed. He played like maybe 10 beats. He had his like little Akai little amp on the stage and his MIDI controller.
Oh, dope.
And he played like 10 beats, and then this girl Crystal came out, and they had a song at the time that Kevin had produced.
Okay.
And she sang, and he kind of did the beat live. But yeah, that was the only time that he actually performed. We never actually booked him to DJ. I think he outgrew us like fairly quickly.
But it's funny because you called it. You did say like he's so talented. This man's gonna be going places. Like you said it that night when you introduced. So it's just funny that like when someone says, "Sorry, go ahead, go ahead."
No, I'm sorry to cut you off, but there was a documentary that was made about the Montreal beat scene, an art beat movie, the Pew Pew documentary. I don't know if you ever saw it.
No, not yet, but
if you haven't, it's on YouTube, but I'll send you the link.
Yes, please.
But Aisha Vertus, she made the movie, and you know, Kate Trinot is in it. Dr. Mad's in it.
Yeah, Mad.
High Classified, all those guys. And they were all kind of doing their thing and sort of bugging out over each other at art beat events at the time.
Mm.
And in that movie, I'm in the movie too. She interviewed me in my house when I lived on Guilford. And I was feeling that way about Kevin at the time. I was like, I give these guys a year.
Yeah.
Before they're gone.
Yeah.
They're out of here. And that came to pass. It did come to pass.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever feel like when you see talented people, are you ever do you ever think of like, I want to start a label and have everyone working together and doing all this crazy stuff?
Of course. It's happened to me many times.
Yeah. Because there's just so much talent in Montreal. And even in Toronto, like if you have that connection too.
Sure. And you know what? I've been lucky enough to be part of some crews in Montreal who had that idea and ran with it for as long as they could.
Yeah.
You know? I used to work at a studio that was behind the Bell Center.
Okay.
On St. Antoine. This studio called Sinister Sound. It used to be owned by the members of this band called Jazz Pharmacy.
Oh, it's dope. That's a fun
name. And you know Jazz Pharmacy?
No, I haven't heard them, but I love the name.
Okay. So Jazz Pharmacy was like the go-to jazz funk band in Montreal from probably, I don't know, 1997 to 2004.
Okay.
And they were playing constantly, touring constantly, and things came to a head and they were able to acquire their own studio.
That's awesome.
So I got hired to do admin, but I was able to sort of wrangle a production job.
Yeah.
Like making beats on the side, Studio C or Studio B. I can't remember. But you know, like
you're there.
It was an awesome opportunity to work with people I didn't know and also work with all the people that I did, who I knew were trying, you know, looking for any opportunity to get into the studio or you know.
I respect the smile too, because you're just like, hey man, this was great. Like, like you could see you genuinely enjoyed that you were just in a perfect place in a perfect situation.
It was really great. It was sometimes, I mean, in the early days of the studio, I would go to work on Monday, and I wouldn't get home until Wednesday.
Hot shit. God damn.
Because and trust me, there were no sleeping quarters. There was like a lounge with a dusty couch and a couple of lounge chairs and a mini fridge and a TV.
Oh shit.
But you know, you'd go in the studio and next thing you know, it's like 12 hours later.
Yeah. Yeah. Yo. Yeah. When I was studying sound in university, there was times where if no one was using the studio and you could book it overnight, you'd just go in and I'd be like, oh, I'm just going to go in for like 2-3 hours. And then I remember I used to drive from the West Island and park in a spot I wasn't supposed to park in. And I'd always get there around shift change for security. So they never knew who was parking there. And they were nice enough to never tell me. But the one time I got caught when I left, and they were just like, "Oh, you're the one parking there. Yo, you're not allowed to park there, man." And they're like, go. And I was just like, and it was like, "Oh, this was my mistake," because I usually left the amount of times I would go in and I would stay until like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning working on projects, just working on stuff, trying to like, you know, thinking myself a beat maker and just like working out stuff. And then I would leave. No one would be around. They're doing their rounds, but no one would see me, so I'd just drive off. But that one night, I left way earlier than I usually do, and they must have been doing their rounds, and they caught me. And they were so nice about. To this day, I don't even feel bad that they caught me, because again, I really wasn't supposed to be parking there, and the fact that they never got my car towed, I felt blessed.
Nighttime is the right time, man.
Yo, yeah, man. I mean, there's so many times that I've wanted to build like. Because when I was at the radio station, I started off in production. I wasn't a program director. I was assistant production director. Then I started being the hip hop music director, and then that led to programming. But I was studying production in school, and it was fun. I definitely don't think of myself as a beat maker in the end, but I loved producing, and one of my favorite things was actually recording live to air. Like miking for live to air was always fun. Like there have been times where we had a band come in once that had two drums, two drummers, keys, two guitars, a bass player, and a separate singer at the CJLO studio, the oven. So if anyone knows it, we're not talking a big room like university studio space. It's really not a big booth. So we fit all that in the booth, and we didn't even have enough mics. So I'm like essentially miking for like to capture as much sound as possible, but it's not like I can mic specific things perfectly. We have the keys plugged in directly into the board, like all this crazy stuff. And then when we recorded it, like I told everyone's just like, do you think this is gonna work? I'm like, hell if I know, but we're trying something, man. Let's see if we can get some good sound out of this, because these guys came with one of the biggest bands we've ever seen, and I'm really excited to hear. And it ended up being one of the like. People still like. Someone messaged me a couple weeks ago, being like, "Hey, man, that was like, that's still one of my favorite sessions at CJLO," and I'm like,
nice,
yeah, like sure, thanks. I tried. I did my best. So,
yeah, I had a show at CJLO for a minute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What year?
I want to say 2000 or 2001.
Okay, so right before I started. Well, 3 years before I started, because I started 2004. I was like popping around 2003, but 2004 was when I actually got a show.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had at the time I was working at a record store called Noise.
Okay.
On Saint Laurent. And I had a lot of regular customers who would come in every week and basically ask me what they should buy.
Oh, dope. That's fun.
And some of them were super appreciative, and I have become amazingly close friends of mine that I still cherish.
That's awesome.
But at the time, there was this girl. Her name was Elena.
Okay.
And she was a Pilates instructor. She used to come in, and she was sort of toying with DJing at the time. And she came in like, I don't know. She was coming in for 6 or 8 months, buying records every week.
Ah, hot damn.
And one week she came in. And she's like, listen, I got an opportunity to do a radio show at CJLO. You think you'd be interested in doing it with me?
Hot damn, that's awesome.
She's like, I don't know anything about it. And I didn't really know much about radio at the time myself.
Yeah.
I'd done a few overnights at CKUT. But really I didn't know my way around.
You know what? I feel like radio is, because the way, especially back then, because I remember when I started, how the way the booth was set up. I know some people felt intimidated the first time they walked into the studio, because you get there and you see like a 24 channel board and like all this equipment, and you're just like, oh, okay. And it's like, oh, we're going to be streaming, and it's like potentially unlimited people all over the world can just listen to you. And but I always just thought like, man, again, this is just fun, and just find out what you're going to do. And do it more for yourself, or at least in that case, someone came up to you, and I would have felt flattered if someone was just like, hey, I want to do this thing. You seem like the type of person I want to do it with. Jump on with me. Because I would have loved an opportunity like that. When I first started, it was very much just me being silly and being like, I want to do a hip hop show, and then playing the worst hip hop, like the most commercial hip hop you'd ever heard. And, Darcy and Darcy McDonald, who was the hip hop music director at the time. I'm sure you know Darcy.
Of course.
Yeah. So Darcy at the time was like, he was such a nice a person about it, because instead of just being like, everything you're playing is shit, please play better music, he'd always just kind of try and guide me by sending suggestions, and oh, check out this album, and oh, if you like this rapper, you might like this rapper who isn't 50 Cent on another top 40 album. And I was just like, okay, whatever. And then, dude, just under the guidance and and exploring stuff, a combination of him, Lady Oracle, Jay Nice, all the different hip hop shows at CJLO, and Tim, who was hosting a show at the time, Rook One. I don't know if you know him, and just all those different people, and listening to their shows and talking to them, and them suggesting stuff, and then it just became so much fun to explore. That was the other thing. I realized one of the big problems was I was being so lazy with it. I was just playing what I heard, and that was the easy way out to just do a show. Whereas once I actually started to put the work in, yeah.
That's level one.
Yeah.
There's there's all the sub levels.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of to explain to somebody for the first time that there's a whole world of music that exists below and obscured from your ears.
Yeah.
And especially back then.
Yeah.
Now, people are much more adept at finding stuff that they probably wouldn't have found, right?
Yes, 100%.
But back then, in a lot of cases, community radio was the place that you would go.
Yeah.
To discover that other stuff,
Yeah.
So, community radio is so influential in sort of my musical education early on. And it was awesome to go full circle and then be the guy in the studio, sort of feeding the masses.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that it was so much fun, passing that on, and seeing people that spoke to you about how influenced they were by your stuff, to then see them come in and be DJs and stuff like that. That was always cool. It happened once where someone came to CJLO when I was a program director and told me, oh, I listened to your show when I first started university, and then that made me want to apply for a show. And I was just I was beaming. I was so excited that day to have someone tell me that I'm potentially influenced their decision into doing a show. That was dope. And I'm sure you've influenced a number of people into to doing radio or DJing, and that's that always seems fucking cool.
Well, look, man. For me, in living in Montreal, being in music, there's always a glut of talented people around. Back in the day, people were so shy to share their stuff and to let anybody else hear it. It's a different world now.
Yeah.
And it still exists. There's still plenty of people who are super talented and have stuff ready to go. It's just that we're so bombarded with everything now.
Yeah. And then that brings me to Misa Negra. Is the idea behind that kind of helping people cut through? When you started that, what was the inspiration for that new one?
Well, Misa Negra is basically a vanity project. Just a vanity project in the sense that I really miss DJing, and I wanted to get back to a regular monthly situation where I could share music with people.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but I was diagnosed with prostate cancer last year.
Oh, no, I didn't know.
In maybe July of last 2019.
Okay.
And by October, I had an operation to have my prostate removed.
Okay.
And everything was cool. The operation was successful.
Oh, good. Good to
And
hear.
hopefully I won't be having any more problems, knock wood.
Knock on wood.
Uh, but I was like laid up in my house for 8 weeks,
Mm.
um, off work. And, I had good friends were coming by with food and checking on me, taking care. But the whole time that I was recovering, I was like, what do I want to do with myself? Like, what am I gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
I gotta do something to get some energy and momentum back.
Mhm. Mhm.
And really, that's how my mind was working. So I think my friend Rafat, he was coming by to see me a couple of days a week, and he was telling me about, oh yeah, that they opened up the basement at Sala Rosa, and I was like, what are you talking about? The basement, the bathrooms? What do you mean? He's like, no, no, no. He's like, no, no, no. There's like a bar, and then across the hall from the bar, there's like a smaller dance floor.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't know anything about it, so I got on the horn. I called up Kiva, and she was like, "Oh yeah, yeah. It's been going for a year already. It's just now starting to like, it's booked like solid
Oh, damn. Okay.
every week." She's like, "You want to come check it out?" And I was like, "As soon as I'm able, sure." So as soon as the first thing I did when I was able to leave the house
Yeah.
was go to the CASA offices and go and check out the basement.
Dude.
And that day is when I decided, okay, I'm gonna. They were like, "You want to do something? You can do something if you want to do something."
Damn. That's
So I signed up for like 7 months of monthly, and look where we are now.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. Yo, like the importance of having a plan or something to guide you when you're feeling kind of like you're like laid out at home and you're just like, I want to feel the energy and like the push to do something. And like people don't realize how important that is sometimes. And like
Yeah.
and like the fact that it was like the first thing you did is that important message that like, and that's why I feel like that message is important right now. Like there's a lot of people at home and this quarantine situation is not easy, but if you have that one thing in the back of your mind that you're thinking of, and the moment that things start to get a little bit better and you're like, this is what I want to do, yo, follow that path, man, because that
For sure.
that leads to like for me this was my thing. Like I was just like, I've always wanted to do. I remember my partner was saying one time, one of her friends asked her like, oh, what does he do for a living? And it's like, oh, he curates playlists for commercial spaces, restaurants, bars, so on and so forth. And then they're just like, oh, okay. It's just like, what would he do if he wasn't doing that? And she was just like, oh, he'd podcast every day. And she said that to me, and I was like, you're right. Like, I had never said that to myself, but her saying it, I was just like, yeah. Because I guess, you can't see the trees from the forest, right? So for someone looking out at me would realize, like, that is definitely your passion. But I just was so in my routine of day to day that I just never thought about it. And once she said that to me, I was just like, it really is one of the things that makes me happy. And then when this quarantine whole thing started, bong, like I jumped on it because it was.
Yeah.
So what have you been, I mean, because of the quarantine, obviously we're not able to do the nights, but what are some of the things that you've been doing to like feel to be able to try and maintain things a little bit?
What do you think I've been doing, man? I've been trying to optimize my streaming game.
Oh yeah.
Like everybody else.
Well, I'll tell you, OBS folks, if you guys are out there and you're wondering how I do this, one day I'll show you guys a screen cap, but it's all, I use OBS and
OBS.
Yeah.
Streamlabs.
Yeah, Streamlabs OBS, exactly. I used a nicer looking one. And I don't update mine as much as it tries to get me to, because the version that I have right now does everything I want it the way I want it, and every time I log in, it tries to update. So funny enough, every time I open my computer and I want to open Streamlabs, I actually disable the Wi-Fi open Streamlabs so that
Right.
it doesn't try to connect, and then
Look, man, if you update, it's still gonna be set up with your specs, man.
I
It's
don't
not gonna
trust them.
change anything.
I don't trust them, Scott. I don't trust nobody. Because you know what? I obviously I don't know the program as well as I should, because I remember so every time I did an update on my computer, the Streamlabs would delete all the scenes I had created. And I didn't know that the scenes were actually not deleted. They're saved. I just have to figure out how to go back and add them. But I didn't know that. So I used to get so mad because it happened one time while I was about to do a podcast that the way we have it right now, where you and I are split and all that stuff, like I had to learn how to layer things properly so that it looks this way. So it's not something that I can just recreate right away, because I'm always just like, I gotta like frame this properly and move that over. So the first time I was so mad, and then one day I was just looking and I found the link, and it's just like, oh yeah, you just click this button, and I clicked the button, and every single scene I had ever made was there. And most of them were just copies of me recreating the old scene because I thought it was deleted. And I felt like such a I felt so stupid, but whatever.
I feel like everybody is going through the same process right now, because this is all new territory for most people. You know, like even like when this whole thing started, like literally the first week, when I saw this sort of uptick of people DJing, I was like, oh shoot, that's where this is going? Okay. So I ordered an iRig, an iRig stream that day.
Oh damn, okay.
And I got it. Like I got it in a day. I got it from Best Buy.
Okay.
And before they started selling out and being unavailable and backwards.
Yeah.
But I'm 100% certain that people are just kind of muddling through and getting their resources from where they can get them and watching the tutorials they need to watch.
Yes.
So that they can, you know, and you know, you do it once and then you're like, okay, I can do that better. The next time you do it, you change a little something and switch it up.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes, man. I just put up a Twitch channel yesterday.
Oh, dope. Okay.
And I'm not 100% finished with configuring it yet, but it's way better. It's way better than when I first put it up. Let's say that.
Well, do you want to tell people the handle? Because I'll tell people to follow you on Twitch. I'm on Twitch.
It's twitchtv.incmtl.
Oh, dope. Okay, there you go. All right. Oh,
I stay inside with Scott C.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I signed up for Twitch at one point and was just like, all right, I'm gonna like get on Twitch and I'm gonna dominate. And this was before this all started. And then I tried doing it for like 2 weeks, and I was just like, these kids, man, they're so fast with this damn thing. Like you just see all these. You see all these gaming kids on there just killing it, and with these like dope.
You're not a gamer, eh?
No, but these kids have like green screens and they're like playing and they have themselves in the shot, and I'm like, yo, I feel like such an idiot. Like I can't catch up to what they're doing, and so I stopped for a minute. But now I'm gonna start trying to like. There's this thing called Restream.io.
Yeah.
Which you have to. It's unfortunately it's $20 a month, so I probably won't do it right now because financially that doesn't seem like the smartest decision to sign up for a $20 a month plan. But it's a thing that allows you to stream to multiple platforms at once. So you can stream to like YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and whatever else all at once. And every time I look at it, I'm just like, man, I should do that, because then I could do like this on Facebook. I could have it on Twitch, and it would be cool to be able to have the stream everywhere.
Have you heard of Yellow Duck?
No. Do tell.
So Yellow Duck is another one that allows you to stream on multiple platforms. But from what I've been reading, because I was like, okay, I'm doing it.
I'm looking this up.
But then I started reading a little bit deeper, and there was like people were questioning the security of it and the legitimacy of it. It works though, but the question marks are.
Well, you know what?
It's nebulous.
I'll tell people this: if people have concerns about any of this stuff, for anyone, I mean, not for us, but for anyone who's using TikTok, maybe also look into TikTok and security issues, because I know people are really excited about TikTok, but one of the things that I read was because TikTok is made by a Chinese company, and one of the
Yeah.
things in China is, and guys, this isn't coming out of left field. I looked it up. In China, a lot of the companies are beholden to the government and
To the state, man.
to the state, and the like, not secret police, but like essentially like their equivalent of like the Mounties and the FBI and all that stuff, right? Like, so there's like stipulations that they have to share information with the government and the state. And technically, like when you sign up for TikTok, that's
You sign all that off.
you sign that off. Like they have all that information, and if the Chinese government ever decides that they need information from that company and need all that data, they are allowed to ask for it, and as per the state, they would be eligible to get it. So I know a lot of people, like in Australia, one of the reasons that the original 5G antennas weren't allowed to go up is because they were being produced by a Chinese company, and Australia had concerns about security issues because of the fact that the Chinese company was going to be beholden to the state and would have to share information. And if all that data is transferring over the 5G network, they're just like, well, wouldn't they technically be allowed to ask for all the data that they've collected? And I was just like, oh, that's some interesting, intense stuff. So, everyone's on TikTok, everyone's having fun, and I'm not saying don't go on TikTok and have fun, but I mean, because also, who's sharing anything majorly important on TikTok?
But it's not just TikTok, man. You know that there's all kinds of
Oh,
apps out there that are piggybacking or
yeah,
have embedded, I don't know, who knows
Yeah.
what in there. And people just are like, let me get to it. They
Yeah.
just click that box and it's gone. You know?
Oh yeah, I 100% will take credit for being that bad too. Because like when I signed up for Quibi, I don't know if you heard of Quibi, but it's this streaming app. It's like a new streaming app for TV shows and stuff. But it's like all the shows are only 6 minutes long. And anyways,
Quibi. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So they're offering 3 months free to anyone who signs up, except in Quebec. But I didn't read that because, like you said, I just kept clicking the give me the info, and click. And then when I got to the end and it's like, oh, it's going to charge you $6.99, I thought it was going to charge me $6.99 after the trial, because I understood. I was just like, yeah, of course you're going to ask me that you can start paying after 3 months. But no, it charged me right away. And then I felt stupid and I messaged them. And the guy's just like, oh, I'm really sorry about that. Let me look into it. And then like a supervisor messaged me back being like, yeah, homie, it says you can't get it in Quebec.
You live in Quebec.
Yeah. He was nice about it, but essentially it was just like, yo, dumbass, you're in Quebec. You don't get this. And I was like, God damn it. Whatever.
Yeah.
One of the things that we were supposed to talk about before we sign off, because you and I were talking, what are some of the TV shows you've been enjoying in quarantine, good sir?
Oh, you know what? I found something the other night that I wasn't looking for, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Ooh.
Dave.
Oh yes.
Little Dicky show.
Yes, I just watched the latest episode.
Very, very funny.
Yes, I
think it's one season down, right?
Yeah, I think this might be the last episode. It feels like it feels like a last episode because actually I won't say it because maybe you haven't seen it, but
yeah, don't say it.
Yeah.
I saw episode 10. Yeah.
Is it? My God, I don't even know. I just clicked. I was just like, "What's this new episode?" Click, watch. I was like, "Cool." I gotta say, the initial episode when I watched it, I came on my podcast and I was just like, "This ain't it, man." And then like 2 or 3 episodes later, I had to 100% backpedal on that, man, because I was just like, "Okay, this is a good show." I had to acknowledge it.
It's like I feel like he watched Atlanta and was like, "This is amazing.
Yeah.
I could do a show about my own life."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like he's a joke, man. He's so fucking funny.
Yeah, he really is.
And he can rap. At the end. I mean, he's like a totally neurotic Woody Allen caricature.
Yeah.
But he is funny. He's a funny dude.
Yeah. It is good.
Um,
He does a good show. And Andrew Santino, the redheaded dude who plays his friend and manager, I like him as a comedian, and you know, and I really like the relationship with those two, the relationship with Taco, the relationship with Gata, all
yeah,
of it, the whole crew, the whole clique. It's well done. I gotta
yeah,
admit it. Yeah, it's
yeah.
fun.
So there's that. And we spoke. I don't. We didn't speak about it, but devs,
Yes, I finished Devs.
devs, devs, next level.
Yes.
That was the find of the season, I would say.
You finished
Uh,
it?
oh yeah, I didn't know anything about that show.
Me neither.
I accidentally landed on a cast,
Oh, okay.
an ensemble cast interview,
Oh, dope. Okay.
and I couldn't turn it off.
Yeah. That's awesome.
They were talking about it, and I was like, wow, this sounds kind of like I should check it out. And then I checked it out, and I was like, yo, this is drawing me in,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
The sound design and
Yep.
like the way that it was shot, everything
Yes.
was just like totally foreboding and creepy and suspenseful. It
Yes.
just kept pulling me in.
I
And
I
the payoff was worth it.
I don't want to spoil anything, but when it got to the end and he said that thing about how it's spelt, and he's just like, it's actually,
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my god. I was like, yo,
Yeah,
dude,
no
like,
pun intended.
yeah. Yeah, man. I gotta say, Devs is really good. I know. Funny enough, I had someone message me the other day, being like, "Hey, man, when are you guys gonna talk about Devs on Geektastic Cypher? Because you talked about it, but you haven't gone back to it." And I was just like, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna wait till next week because I finally finished it, and I needed a minute to sit with it because I was just like
Yeah.
processing what I saw, and I was just like, man, that's some good storytelling."
Yeah.
And Alex Garland, the director, creator of it, is like, he did Ex Machina, the movie, and you realize like
Yeah.
this guy has like a certain style, and he has like, you could tell like this, there's something he thinks about a lot, and he's able to translate those ideas and thoughts into really entertaining movies or series. And I was
Yeah, but
like,
Ex Machina could be in the same universe as Dev.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes. That's yeah, exactly.
It could be just down the road a little bit.
100%. And that was exactly my thought too. I was just like, this guy's is he building like a loose universe right here, like kind of just like, cuz you could easily tie this stuff together. Easily.
Um, is it Love and Robots?
Oh, yes, the Netflix series with the
Is
like
that coming
shorts.
back? Do you know if that's coming
Yeah,
back?
there's
Another season?
they're supposed to give a second season. Yeah.
I thought that was absolutely excellent.
Yeah.
I know that's going back a little while, but
That's
I,
no.
I was thinking about that like during quarantine. Like, when are they gonna do the next season of that? 'Cause
Yeah.
that was dope, man. Like, I love that format. Just like little bite-sized, amazing
Shorts,
bits and
yeah.
pieces, you know.
And they were entertaining. They were interesting. The all the stories were like, each one at the end of it, I was just like, especially the one about the color blue, where the artist.
Yeah, that was dope.
Oh, that one was so good, man.
Yeah. Full circle.
Yeah, man. I was like, I like got to the end and I was just like, yo, I got goosebumps. Like, that shit's serious. Yo, it was serious. It was serious. Dude, yo, Scott, this was so much fun, man. I really appreciate this conversation, man. I really do.
No worries, man.
I said it at the beginning. I'll say it again. The whole premise of this is an excuse to talk to people that do dope shit. And there's so many people that I want to talk to, but you were definitely one of the people I really wanted to talk with. And I'm happy that we were able to do this because this was a lot of fun, man.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you inviting me on, and anytime.
Dope, man. Definitely. Do you want to
Let
tell
me know, and I'll come back.
for sure? All the social
What's that?
medias. You want to give people all the social medias because when I post this on IG, I'm gonna add it underneath your name, underneath your picture.
Yeah, on Instagram, it's at INCMTL. Twitch.tv/INCMTL. On Mixcloud, you can check me out, Scott C.
Okay, perfect.
And I think that's really all anybody needs to know.
Dope, man. That's perfect. Thank you so much again. This was great. I look forward to talking to you again sometime soon. We'll keep exchanging TV shows that people should check out. And for everyone watching, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I see a list of people who tuned in throughout the. Shout outs to Ollie, Mark, Don, Tahira, Kai, Manny. Jai Nitai Lotus was watching. Eric at one point. Travis, my buddy Kai again. Yeah, so thanks to all of you guys who are tuned in. Thank you to Scott again. And guys, we'll be back again tomorrow with another edition of Not a Journalist. Peace, everybody.